Here are the Three Stooges in a film short called Calling All Curs.
Congratulations. Let's go. Oh, I told you to stop it.
How would you like to grow up in this family of stooges? One of these three women did. Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Joan Howard Mora.
Number two.
My name is Joan Howard Mora.
Number three.
My name is Joan Howard Mora.
Only one of these people is the real Joan Howard Mora and is the only one sworn to tell the truth. Now let's meet our panel. Actor and raconteur Orson Bean. From Santa Barbara, Robin Matson. Voted America's top stand-up comedian, Dennis Wolford. And to tell the truth's very own, Kitty Carlisle. Here's the host of To Tell the Truth, Alex Trebek.
Thank you, Burton. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to our show. And good morning, panel.
Good morning, good morning.
Let's get to our first story. This one looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Represented by these three women, all of whom claim to be Joan Howard Maurer. Follow along, please, as I read the affidavit. I, Joan Howard Maurer, lived with the famous Three Stooges. My father was Moe, and my uncles were Shemp and Curly. The original Stooges were Moe, Shemp, and Larry Fine. Uncle Curly joined the act in 1933. Moe's spittoon haircut, Larry looking like a scared porcupine, and Curly's shiny bald head would delight millions with head bops, fingers poked in the eyes, and Curly's nyuk, nyuk, nyuk. At home, Moe was serious and a real family man. Curly, on the other hand, was married 4 times and was the off-screen clown of the group. I have fond memories of Uncle Curly gracefully approaching the diving board, leaping out into space, and doing a pool-emptying cannonball. With all due respect to my father, Moe, and my uncle Shemp, Curly was the super stooge and has become a cult hero. In fact, superstar Michael Jackson admired him so much, he wrote the foreword of my book entitled Curly. Signed, Joan Howard Maurer. Find out a lot more about this woman who was born into a family of stooges following this commercial break. This item is going to bring back wonderful memories of my youth. All three of these women claim to be Joan Howard Maurer, whose father and uncles were the Three Stooges. Kitty, you started off for us.
Thank you. Number one, what happened to Larry?
Well, Larry died in 1975.
Number two, your father, Moe, was he with the Stooges all the time?
Yes, he was.
Number three, who invented the act?
Well, originally the stooge idea came from Ted Healy, who had a couple of people as foils, and he took on the 2, and ultimately it became the 3.
Number two,
Let's go to Dennis for the next question.
Number 2, how many children were in your family? Did your dad Moe have?
One other beside myself.
Number 1, what's your favorite of the Three Stooges movies?
I have so many. I really have never picked a favorite because they have different meanings for me. So some depending upon the time of the life that the movie was done, and others that just because they were so good.
And number 3, what was the last time they worked together as a team?
There was a feature made at Fox, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of it.
Right.
All right, Robin, your question.
Number 2, it seems kind of unusual that the 3 brothers lived together. What were the circumstances under which you all lived in the same house?
We didn't live in the same house.
Oh, I guess I'm taking this too literally then. How about, where was the house located? Where did you live? Where did you grow up?
Different homes, but part of the time in the valley.
Number 1, did they work out a lot of different routines in the house? Did they get together and rehearse? And
No, not at the house. They basically, our family life was kept pretty separate from the professional life.
Number 3,
Orson will have to
Number
ask the
3,
question.
who invented... Who invented that?
Curly himself. Curly really was the most imaginative of the three. My dad was the business person.
He was. I love the Three Stooges. Number one, what connection does Joe Besser have with your family?
Well, Joe took Curly's place, Uncle Curly's place, after Uncle Curly had his stroke.
And number two, who was the last bald member of the group?
Joe DeRita.
All right, number three.
Oh, time's up, panel. Fascinating story, isn't it? Fun, too. It's time now for you to vote for the woman you feel is the one who was related to the Three Stooges. Is it number one, is it number two, or is it number three? A team of challengers will receive $500 for each incorrect vote with a minimum guarantee of $1,000. And if the panel is fooled completely, the team receives $3,000. Kitty, you're smiling. That's great. This,
Oh, well, it was
this whole
fun.
routine makes us
I loved
laugh.
seeing the Three Stooges. That was brought back such happy memories. They were all very good. I have no idea, but I voted for number two.
All righty. Dennis?
I thought they were also terrific, and I also, like Kitty, have no idea. Kitty's been asking me which questions to ask, by the way, but that's another story. But number one, when she said Uncle Curly, there seemed to be a ring of truth, and so I went with number one.
Number one. All right. Robin?
Number three sounded so familiar with everything. It all seemed to roll off her tongue.
Yeah.
And when she said she couldn't think of the last movie that they were in together, it just seemed very real. So I picked number three.
Okay, a vote for realism. Orson, you're going to break the tie.
I think the movie was The Three Stooges Go to Mars. It was some science fiction picture, wasn't it? Anyway, I voted for number three. She looks like she's got that wacky family background in her.
All right,
Mo
well,
is
we'll
my
find
favorite.
out in a few moments. Right now, let's review the votes. We have one for number one, one for number two, and two for number three. And it's time now to find out which of these ladies is really related to the Three Stooges. And so will the real Joan Howard Maurer please stand up? I think it's number two, and it is, yes. Joan, we'll get back to you in a few moments. Our imposters were terrific. Once again today, 3 incorrect votes. Number one, who are you?
My name is Dolores Raymaker, and I'm an attorney in Torrance, California, doing primarily family law practice.
How did you enjoy this bit? This was fun, wasn't it?
Yes,
Just
it
pretending.
was.
Number three, what about you, ma'am?
My name is Ina Newell Bliss. I'm a former elementary school teacher and an international traveler.
Well, good for you. 3 incorrect votes, as I mentioned, at $500 each. That means the team will receive $1,500. And now, Joan, you mentioned that Curly had been married 4 times, and he was the wild one. We have some film here of one of his weddings. Which wedding was this?
The wedding to the second wife, Elaine Ackerman.
So this goes back to 1939, is it?
Right.
All right, perhaps you can tell us some of the characters that we are seeing.
Oh, we're seeing my grandfather in the middle, and my dad and Shemp to the right. This is the bride is Elaine Ackerman. You see them kissing, her, and Curly is next to her. That's Larry with his hair combed down rather.
We're not used to seeing him that way.
No, not at all. And there I am, mugging for the camera. And my grandmother, and there I am again.
In spite of all their antics, one last question. In spite of all their antics and all of the rough stuff we have seen on film, you get the impression watching the Three Stooges that there was a lot of love there, was there?
Yes, there really was.
Good, that's nice to know. Well, thank you so much for being with us today and bringing back these wonderful memories
You're
on To
certainly
Tell the
welcome.
Truth. We'll be back with a tennis champion who had a heart transplant right after this. In a few moments, you'll meet someone who had a change of heart. Let's greet our 3 challengers.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Gardner Robotham.
Number two.
My name is Gardner Robotham.
Number 3.
My name is Gardner Robotham.
All right, it's up to our panel to locate the real Gardner Robotham. I'm going to read his affidavit to help you. I, Gardner Robotham, had a heart transplant 2 years ago. Since then, I've won 2 gold medals in the U.S. Transplant Games and have been selected to represent the United States at the Transplant World Games. I was a superior athlete as a child, but as I grew up, I watched my family die one by one of heart disease. My own wife and 3 children hoped I would be spared the illness, but at age 35, I was told I had the heart of a 75-year-old. 2 years later, my heart failed, but fortunately, a donor was found. Less than a year and a half after the operation, I was back playing tennis and winning 2 gold medals at the U.S. Transplant Games. Today, I travel the country motivating people to overcome their disabilities through sports. Signed, Gardner Robotham. Orson, we will start the questioning with you, please.
Now, my grandfather, when he was 90, had the heart of a 35-year-old. They had to beat it to death with a stick after he passed away. Number 3, it is all genetic, isn't it?
Not always.
No, but number 2, in your case, it is, according to this.
It's in my case, it was a mitral valve that failed.
But number 1, you said that your family had it. Therefore, I assume it's genetic.
That's correct. It is
Well,
part
are
genetic.
you, number 1, are you worried about that your kids would have this defect?
Of course.
Well, number 2, now the way they...
Oh, Robin.
Number 3, how did you find a donor? Who was the donor? Who was the donor?
It was a 35-year-old man from New Hampshire.
And number 1, it says here that your wife and your children hoped that possibly you would avoid this. Was there anything physically or medically that made you think you would avoid it?
Yes, my heart was not obviously diseased prior to that.
Number 2, what are the names of your children?
Chris, Al, and Todd.
All right, let's go to Dennis.
Number 3, what is your cholesterol count?
It's about 174.
Number 2, what's the difference between good cholesterol and bad cholesterol?
Well, if you have a low cholesterol, such as number 3 just mentioned, that's very good. If you have it in the high 270s, then you should be concerned about your condition of your heart and your health.
Number 1, who is launching a tennis comeback later this week?
I have no idea.
Number 3, do you know that? Number 2?
Is Connors coming back again?
No, Kitty, let's go to you.
Number 1, what is the Transplant Games?
These are a series of games where they have 5 or 6 different sports, and it's organized by the National Kidney Foundation for those who have had transplants.
Oh, number 2, of any kind, kidney or heart or lungs or anything.
There are 4 transplants that are for the game, primarily. Kidney, liver, bone marrow, as well as the heart.
Thank you. And number 3, where do they take place mostly?
They rotate them around.
All over the world?
There isn't one single site. No.
And number 1, when you discovered that you had this, how long before you found a donor?
It's about 3 months.
And number 2, were they...
Oh, that was very fast, 3 months. Good news. All right, time's up, panel. Time for you to vote for the man who had a real change of heart. Do you think it's number 1, number 2, or number 3? Orson, for whom did you vote?
Well, I think this is a wonderful story. I'm astonished to hear they have these games and delighted. I'm sure that by the time you're, whoever you are, when your kid is of an age to need it, that you'll take a pill, get a new heart, another pill, a new kidney, another pill, whatever he needs. I voted for number 3. He was loath to tell us anything.
Anything, right. Robin.
I was impressed by number 2's ability to tell us the 4 different areas of transplants that qualified you to be in these Olympic Games. So I voted for number 2.
All right, Dennis?
The tennis star who's making a comeback is Bjorn Borg, and none of them knew it, so I think none of them is the man we're talking about.
I am the one who had the heart transplant.
Okay. But inasmuch as I am forced to vote for one of them, I was impressed with number 1 when asked about his child, said with great passion, yes, he's concerned. I voted for number 1.
All right, Kitty?
I have a whole different reason for voting for number 1. When they came down the stairs, number 1 twirled his racket in a very professional way. So I voted for number 1.
Maybe if he's an imposter, he could be a baton twirler, something like that, so he can handle a tennis racket. Let's review what we've got here. We have 2 votes for number 1, 1 vote for number 2, and 1 vote only for number 3. Time now to find out who the real heart transplant athlete is. Will the real Gardner Robotham please stand up? It is number 3, who was loath to say anything. Orson was right. How long did it take to find the donor?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Gosh, you were so
I
fortunate.
had a little extra help from the man above.
You must have. Now, number 1 answered passionately when he was asked if he's worried about perhaps heart problems with the children. Do you have children?
Yes, I have 3 sons.
And are you worried?
I've had them all checked out. They're all fine.
They're all fine, but you were fine until they discovered that you had this heart problem at the age of 35, I assume.
No, it's, my mother died when I was 11. It was sort of like a time bomb sort of waiting to go off. But I thought I was going to be spared because I was so athletic.
Well, the athleticism has certainly paid off. We have a photo here of you receiving a trophy. When did this take place?
That took place last August, just before I went to the Transplant Olympics, and it was a very meaningful tournament at the Harbor Club in Seal Harbor, Maine, that I had won 17 years earlier when I was at Harvard, so it was very special.
I can understand
really
why.
meant that I had come back.
I would imagine there'd be, at the transplant games, there would be a great deal of emotion from the people in the stands who are related to all the competitors.
It is like nothing you've ever experienced in your life.
Well,
just to have 383 people there who have all received the gift of life, it's phenomenal.
It's a great story, and it was a pleasure having you here. Let's
Thank
meet
you.
our imposters. They were terrific. Number one, tell us about yourself.
My name is Gary Beck, and I'm a financial consultant for international corporations.
You play tennis?
Yes.
You do? All right, that's why you were able to twirl the racket. Number two.
My name is Chuck Sambar, and I'm a high school vice principal at Crescenta Valley High School, and I'm a lousy tennis player.
Lousy tennis player. All right, well, you guys were great on our program. Good imposters. 3 incorrect votes at $500 apiece, and that means the team will receive $1,500. Thank you all for being with us on To Tell the Truth. We'll be back to play one-on-one right after this. Let's see if someone in our studio audience can win some cash. Who do you have for us today, Bert, to play one-on-one?
Today it is Louise Martineau from San Diego, California.
Hello, Louise.
Hello, Alex.
You came north to get the dough, huh?
Yes.
All right, good luck to you. Let me introduce a woman who has 2 fascinating stories to tell. Folks, please welcome Mia Lancaster. Now, Louise, you know the drill. She's going to tell us 2 stories, only one of which happens to be true. You spot the true story, and you have earned $500 in cash. Mia, your first story, please.
I won a look-alike contest. I look like my cat.
Oh, yeah? Fascinating story, but it may be a lie. Let's listen to story number 2. Mia?
I run a taxi service called Babes. All my drivers are former models.
All right, Louise, to help you, we have 1 question from each member of our panel on each story. Let's start with the one that the lady says she looks like her cat. Kitty?
What was the nearest look-alike in the contest that you won?
Next to me, well, there were no runners-up. They didn't have runners-up.
I see. Dennis?
What kind of cat do you have?
A domestic short hair.
Robin?
Where was the contest held?
New York City.
Orson?
I have a cat named Hitler.
Uh-oh.
A domestic short hair. Looks like Hitler. Number 3. Now, I assume you love your cat, but are you ever bothered with hairballs?
Well, I am not, but of course, my kitty sometimes is, so she gets the appropriate remedy, which is Petromalt.
I see. Well, there's a plug for a product on our program. Louise, you heard the questioning on that story. Now we'll get to story number 2, the fact that Mia runs a taxi service called Babes. Kitty?
Are your drivers allowed to date their passengers?
No, I don't have any hard and fast rules on that, but the fact is that they usually don't. I mean, they simply don't.
Dennis?
Do any of your drivers speak English?
They all speak English.
Okay, these are attractive women out there picking up customers all times of the day and night. And what do they do for extra security precautions?
Well, they all live in New York, so they know how dangerous it can be. All of my fleet of cabs have grating, usually plexiglass or some other kind of grating.
That'll help Louise in the audience. Orson?
Do your drivers get better tips than the usual dirty old men that drive people around?
Well, I hope so. I actually don't ask them, but they very well might.
All right.
All right, Louise, you have heard the cross-examination. 2 great stories. But you tell us, in order to win $500, does Mia look like her cat, or does she run a taxi service?
Well, it's a difficult choice, but my instincts tell me the first one, the cat look-alike contest.
All righty. Mia Lancaster, what's your true story?
To tell the truth, I do look like my cat.
All righty. Congratulations, Louise. That's $500 coming your way. Thank you for playing one-on-one. Mia, what's your cat's name?
My kitty's name is Ariel.
Ariel, how did you get it?
I adopted her 3.5 years ago when she was 6 months old.
And you're still in the business of looking for homeless cats, right?
Well, I have 5 other kitties at home, making 6 permanent babies to me in all. And I run a tiny little shoestring organization in New York called Place for Cats. We rescue strays and we try to find responsible homes for them. Unfortunately, it's very hard because there are 24 million unwanted strays every year in the United States, and we're only able to find about 100 good homes a year. So,
all right, well,
we work hard.
as long as the adoptive people don't have to look like the cats, that'll make it a lot easier.
Yes.
We'll be back, and you'll meet Mia and Ariel after this. For our prize winners, Ariel and Mia and all the rest of us here on the program, thank you for watching To Tell the Truth today. We'll look for you tomorrow. So long.
This is Burton Richardson speaking for To Tell the Truth, a Mark Goodson television production.